My boyfriend cheated on me with another man. I find myself in a space where I need to express my feelings, as the pain of my recent breakup still lingers heavily in my heart. In February 2024, I made the difficult decision to end a 7-year relationship quite suddenly. The circumstances were particularly painful. I asked my partner to leave just hours before he was set to embark on a trip to Disneyland with his son, a trip that was meant to be a special experience for them both. At 40 years old, I had invested a significant part of my life into this relationship with my ex-boyfriend, who is 37. The decision to part ways came after discovering, for the third time, that he was exchanging messages with another man. This time, he had gone so far as to express his love for this person in writing, which shattered me completely. It was the betrayal I had feared and hoped would never happen again. To provide some context, the first instance of infidelity should have been a clear warning sign. We had already been together for 2 years at that point and were living together. When I first found out about his texting another man, he assured me it was just for fun and that he didn't need it emotionally. I chose to believe him, brushing off my concerns as mere paranoia. However, when it happened again, I realized he did have needs that weren't being met within our relationship. Out of love and respect for our long history, by then we were about 4 or 5 years in, I suggested we open our relationship. I thought perhaps allowing him some freedom might help us both explore what we wanted. Surprisingly, he declined this offer and insisted he would discuss any needs with me if they arose. Reflecting back now, it's clear that I never truly moved past the first instance of betrayal. His lies and deceit cast a shadow over our relationship from that moment onward. Fast forward to February 28, 2024. My ex picked me up from work around 9 p.m. Typically, I would stay up while he went to bed since I'm not usually tired at night. That evening, I was working on a Dungeons & Dragons campaign for him and his son on my tablet when it started dying. To continue my work, I borrowed his tablet, a common practice between us. By around 10 p.m., after a long day at work, my mind was weary. In an attempt to send myself a text from his tablet to mine, because my brain wasn't functioning properly, I ended up sending the message through his device instead. As I worked on copying my draft into a new document on his tablet, something caught my attention. I noticed there were other text messages on the device. Initially, they seemed innocent enough, but as I read further, my heart sank when I learned that the person he was messaging had been in an accident. Concerned about whether this was someone I knew, I read more closely and stumbled upon a message that read, "I love you babe," sent from my ex to this other man. At that moment, everything inside me broke. It's worth noting that I hadn't been snooping through his phone, rather, this discovery was purely accidental. My trust in him had been unwavering until that point. After all, he was supposed to be my rock and the love of my life. In an emotional whirlwind, I copied the number of the man he was messaging and sent him a text from my own phone. In that message, I expressed my gratitude for being the final straw in our relationship and congratulated him on becoming the other woman. I wished them both luck moving forward together. After sending that message, I texted my sleeping ex upstairs to inform him that I had seen everything and that we were done. He quickly deleted the conversation from his tablet, an action that didn't escape my notice, and then came downstairs. The irony of the situation struck me hard. Here he was about to leave for a week-long trip with his son, who has leukemia but is thankfully doing well, and yet we were having this devastating conversation just hours before his departure. When he came down the stairs, all he could say was, "Yeah, I lied." That simple admission sent me over the edge. It confirmed everything I'd feared. I told him to pack his things immediately and leave with his dog. There was no turning back for me now. The rest of that night is somewhat hazy as I coped with the shock by consuming too much rum before passing out. The following week is also a blur. I didn't tell anyone right away about what had happened because I didn't want to disrupt his son's trip or ruin their time together at Disneyland. Work kept me occupied during those days until finally, after several days of silence and internal turmoil, I confided in my mother and sisters about what had transpired. The pain from this breakup continues to weigh heavily on me because it feels like I've lost not just a partner but an integral part of myself. My heart feels irreparably broken while he appears to be moving on effortlessly with his life. Until only recently, we had maintained some contact. Despite everything that happened, there remained a glimmer of hope within me, a foolish hope perhaps, that things could return to some semblance of normalcy. I tried to be understanding during his journey of self-discovery. After all, if he had approached me honestly before things escalated so far, perhaps we could have navigated this together. But now it's clear this isn't just a phase for him. Any love or affection I once felt has been extinguished by his actions. As time passes and I've taken a step back to reflect on everything that happened, I've come to recognize numerous signs that pointed toward trouble, signs that my gut instinct warned me about but which I chose to ignore out of blind faith in our relationship. For those who might wonder if there was more than just texting involved, when asked directly about physical encounters with others during our relationship, he assured me there hadn't been any physical infidelity, something I believed given how ashamed he seemed when confronted about it. He struggled with societal expectations regarding masculinity as a tall construction worker while grappling with needs deemed unacceptable by many. Ultimately though, none of these excuses, his dishonesty or betrayal. What matters most is honesty within any relationship. If you claim to love someone deeply yet seek validation elsewhere without transparency or communication, what does that say about your commitment? I'm not seeking advice or solutions, rather, writing this down served as catharsis for me. If sharing my story can resonate with anyone else experiencing similar heartache or provide solace in knowing they are not alone in their struggles, then perhaps it holds value beyond mere words on a page. This journey through heartbreak has been profoundly painful yet illuminating. I've learned much about myself and what truly matters in relationships moving forward.